Please come to order. Good morning. Welcome to the Commissioner of St. Mary's County meeting this date, Tuesday, August 2nd, 2022. I'm Randy Guy, President Commissioner of St. Mary's County. I'd like to introduce the other commissioners this time. Sitting to my right, representing the 1st Commissioner District, which includes Ridge, Piney Point, St. George Island, Mr. Eric Colvin.
Good morning.
Representing the 2nd Commissioner District, which includes Leonardtown and Hollywood, Mr. Mike Hewitt.
Good morning, especially the little people.
Sitting to my left, representing the 3rd Commissioner District is Mr. John O'Connor, who is not here today. Unfortunately, he's ill, getting tested right now. Representing the 4th Commissioner District, which includes Lexington Park, some of California, some of Great Mills, and some of Hollywood, Mr. Todd Morgan. David Weiskopf, Interim County Administrator, is sitting in a table to my left.
Morning.
Lisa Cassis, our Communications Director, is sitting to the table to my right.
Good morning.
Amy Carter, our video media producer, is behind the glass. Please turn your cell phones off or on vibrate. When you come to the Commissioner's table, please approach by coming down the center aisle. And remember, this meeting is being televised, so you need to speak clearly and directly into the microphone for recording purposes. At this time, please, we need the approval of the consent agenda.
Do with the
Invocation.
I'll try to give invocation pledge first. Eric Colvin, I got my name down here, but Eric's going to do it today. Please stand.
Almighty God, we thank you, Father, for this day that you've given us today. We thank you for this opportunity to serve, and we thank you for this position you've placed us in. We pray that you would just give us guidance in all that we do. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Colvin. Please be seated. Now we need the approval of the consent agenda.
So moved.
second.
I have a first and second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Next, we have numerous proclamations. We're going to start with the Child Support Awareness Month. I think Mr. Boyd, is he here?
Yes. Good morning. How's the baby? Great seeing these young children here today. They're getting to see government in action. Oops,
Commissioner.
all right. Okay, I have Child Support Awareness Month. This proclamation is being accepted by Joseph Boyd, Assistant State's Attorney, Head of the Child Support Division, and Kevin Corrigan, Assistant Director of Child Support, St. Mary's County Department of Social Services. Whereas every child has the right to a quality of life that includes emotional and financial support from both parents. The consistent payment of child support helps to lift children out of poverty and provide for their daily needs. And whereas the Maryland Department of Human Services Child Support Administration, Bureau of Support, and the St. Mary's County State's Attorney's Office works with parents and custodians to ensure that children are financially supported and have access to health care. And whereas the State's Attorney's Office works collaboratively with the Department of Social Services, Bureau of Support to facilitate paternity testing, to establish orders of paternity, child support and health insurance, and to modify and enforce current support orders. And whereas in FY 2021, the Department of Social Services, Bureau of Support, and the State's Attorney's Office assisted families by collecting $12,880,000 in child support and actively worked 4,365 cases. Based on their successful results of meeting or exceeding the projected goals set by the State of Maryland Department of Human Services Child Support Administration during significant changes due to COVID-19, St. Mary's County was recognized by the State of Maryland with the Silver Certificate Award. Now, therefore, we, the Commissioners of St. Mary's County, do hereby recognize August 2022 as Child Support Awareness Month and encourage every parent to actively support the emotional and financial well-being of their children.
Well, I just want to thank you gentlemen for giving us this proclamation this morning. While Mr. Corrigan and I are here representing our respective departments, I think it goes without saying that none of this would be possible without the hardworking ladies and gentlemen of not only the Department of Social Services and my office, but as well as the Sheriff's Office, who help facilitate paperwork and get people onto court to establish these orders to support the children of our county. And so we thank you, and we want to lift up all the hard-working members of our administration. Thank you.
No, it's a collaborative effort, and everybody pays off at the end as far as that's concerned, because it's helping the children and the citizens of our community, and not just here, nationwide and internationally as well.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Thank you very much for all your work. Really, thank you. Okay, next we have the National Black Business Month presentation.
So first I want to see if we can get Dr. Clinton to come on up. And then I'm going to call out, we've got quite a few businesses represented here, so I'm going to call them all out in order, and just if you could come on up when I call you out, that would be great. So first, the Sunday in the Park with Miss Adrienne Dillahunt. War Cycle, Mark and Anissa Davis. MB Creations, Dia Barnes. Uncle D's Grill, Ira Berry. We'll fit everyone in, don't worry. We'll make it work. Yeah. Knowledge Boxing, Daryl Hinman. A Heavenly Taste Bakery, Tiandra Thompson. The best key lime pie I have ever had in my life. Forever Heart LLC, Marcia Hart. Antoinette's Garden, Rochelle Jackson, Yvonne Jackson, Jonathan. NP Family Practice, Tamira Wilcox. Cray Bella Events Planning and Florals, owner Sean Somerville. Sargus Media, Vincent Chapman. Kimberly Bannister Realty, Kimberly Bannister. Fit Realtor, Donovan Gaspard. And Young Movements Child Care Center and Mom and Pop's Pizza and Subs, Elizabeth and Adrian Young. Anyone I missed? We'll all squeeze in here. This is good.
Yeah, feel free to just to fill in the front. There you go. Thank you.
So without a doubt, this is one of the largest groups we've had here in a while for a presentation, so this is good. So I'm going to read this here. National Black Business Month. Whereas National Black Business Month was founded in 2004 by Frederick E. Jordan Sr. and John William Templeton to recognize the contributions of black-owned businesses throughout the country and to encourage their continued development, and whereas St. Mary's County is home to black-owned businesses that provide family-supporting jobs and careers to residents throughout the county, serving as the driving force for creating the Southern Maryland Minority Chamber of Commerce, and whereas promoting and supporting black-owned businesses helps to close the racial wealth gap in St. Mary's County and throughout the country and encourages the growth of local communities and culture, and whereas chambers of commerce, business improvement districts, and business associations throughout Maryland must continue working working toward inclusion, empowerment, and support for Black-owned enterprises. And whereas St. Mary's County encourages its citizens to frequent Black-owned businesses in their communities during the month of August and throughout the year, and to reflect on the numerous contributions of Black entrepreneurs in our county. Now, therefore, we, the Commissioners of St. Mary's County, do hereby proclaim August 2022 National Black Business Month in St. Mary's County and urge every resident to support our Black-owned businesses. This date, August 2nd, 2022. And I'm going to turn the microphone over to Dr. Frank Clinton for a few comments.
Great. Yes, I know that this is a large crowd, but it's such a deserving crowd. And first I want to thank the commissioners because they were in concurrence with what we were trying to do. I am humbly honored, and I reverence each and every one of these guys, each and every one of these businesses here, because they make it work. I mean, they scrap, they go through the COVID situation, I mean, and they've just been awesome. I've never seen anything like it, and I think it's time. And I'm so excited that each of them would come out today to take time out of their busy schedule to let you, the public, see who they are. We ask that you would continue to support these businesses as we support our community. Amen. I thank God for each and every business that's here. I thank God for your continuing to pursue happiness and to pursue your businesses and serve in the excellent way that you do here in St. Mary's County. And we thank you all. God bless.
Thank you. Right, this is very fitting to do on Buy Local Week, so. Yeah, let's give one to Dr. Clinton. All right, now we're going to take a photo here.
All right, everyone. If you can't see me, I can't see you.
And if everyone would open their proclamations.
No one's hiding in the back. All right, everyone. Perfect. Great.
Go Hornets.
Keep them in line. Keep them in line, all right? Keep them in line.
One more.
Okay, next we have National Aviation Day, and this is being accepted by Mr. Jim Gosh and Allison Swit of our Department of Public Works and Transportation. Morning. Morning. You included all that? Okay. Whereas in 1939, President Franklin Roosevelt proclaimed August 19th National Aviation Day, which is observed in the United States each year to celebrate the history and development of the aviation industry. And whereas the Patuxent River Naval Air Station continues to provide readiness for research, development, testing, and evaluation, acquisition, engineering, and fleet support to the entire range of manned and unmanned naval aircraft, engines, avionics, aircraft support systems, and ship-shore-air operations. And whereas St. Mary's County Regional Airport serves as a base of operations for the Maryland State Police MEDVAC, MedStar Washington Hospital Center, Chesapeake Aviation, Civil Air Patrol, Navy PAX Aero Solutions, Piedmont Flight Center, Southern Maryland Seaplanes, University of Maryland Research and Development Facility for Unmanned Aircraft Systems, Atkinson Aviation to provide aircraft maintenance to general aviation aircraft, AirTech, and the businesses that make up the Aero Park Business Alliance. Whereas the Experimental Aircraft Association hosted another successful Young Eagles rally on June 11, 2022, providing free plane rides to local use and hosted their annual open hangar event to all airport tenants. And whereas the Naval Air Museum and Visitor Center is open to the public, and a stop on the Explore Maryland by Air Challenge to provide educational opportunities for visitors to experience the evolution of U.S. naval aviation history, and includes exhibits of naval aviation technology, history, simulators, vital hands-on, and interactive demonstrations of the aeronautical sciences. Now, therefore, we, the Commission of St. Mary's County, do hereby proclaim August 19, 2022, National Aviation Day in St. Mary's County, and thank the Airport Advisory Board for all its volunteer efforts over the past year, and encourage all citizens to take an interest in and to take advantage of opportunities in aviation and aviation-related activities. This date, August 2nd, 2022. Thank you.
Thank you. And we hope to continue to promote and support the airport, support all the locally based business that are at the airport, and continue to promote through Young Eagles, young children advancing just their love for flight and aviation, always growing that next generation of pilots and A&P mechanics that are also desperately needed. So thank you.
I'm not going to say anything other than thank you, Commissioners, for the proclamation, and again, thank you for what you did with the AUVSI and bringing the competition to the airport. That was awesome. Yeah. It was a great time.
Thank you.
I want to try this.
Thank you very much.
Got everything?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, next we jump right into County Administrator time.
Thank you, Commissioner President Guy. Please note that there will be no meeting of the commissioners on August 9th or August 16th. So the first draft is for Tuesday, August 23rd, and you'll meet at your normal time and place with the invocation and pledge by Commissioner Hewitt. You'll have one proclamation for Women's Equality Day. You have a commendation for the 2022 Special Olympics USA Games, followed by a decision for the Department of Land Use and Growth Management for the proposed cannabis ordinance, Office of the County Attorney public hearing for the transfer tax exemption, County Administrator time, Commissioner's time, closed session for real property, and then adjourn. Followed by August 30th, you'll meet at your normal time and place with the invocation and pledge by Commissioner O'Connor. They have two proclamations, one for National Recovery Month, one for National Suicide Prevention Month. Then you'll meet as the St. Mary's County Board of Health, followed by County Administrator time, Commissioner time, adjourn, and then at 2 p.m. you'll have an outside event for the Animal Adoption and Resource Center ribbon cutting ceremony at 22975 FDR Boulevard, California, Maryland. And the first thing today is from the Department of Public Works and Transportation, a memorandum of land restrictions for dam or reservoir. Jim Gotch presenting.
Good morning again. So this, what we're asking for today is allowing Commissioner Guy to sign an agreement with the state. This is for the Claude Johnson Pond, the farm pond that's on Route 4. What is, it was planned for a couple different uses. The last one was the sports complex. So there's the St. Mary's River comes through the site and goes straight through the pond. So this is an old pond. You could never put a pond in a stream like you used to be able to today. So what happened is the pond needs maintenance, and the backside of the dam is eroding away. So we need to get in there and fix the pond. And so part of dealing with MDE is they want a shared maintenance agreement. So the agreement that we're asking you to sign is saying, we, the county, are the owners of the pond, and we agree to maintain it.
What's it going to cost to fix that thing?
You know, I should have written that down. I don't have the number with me.
I mean, are DNR going to pay any cost, or are we supporting all the costs?
I think it's a shared cost agreement, too. We first got the money for doing the analysis and the engineering design, so next we have to get the money for maintenance. We have already gotten money in the budget for repairs right now, but I don't remember how much that was.
Okay.
$570,000.
$570,000 from,
That's our piece of it?
That's how much is the CIP.
Well, how much is the state putting up?
oh, you know,
Right now, they're showing nothing.
Yeah. Okay,
Zero.
here's my question, and it follows where Commissioner Hewitt was. We've got the pond, and you know where I'm going with this one. So we've had a problem at Wildwood for years with the swale filling in, and it just drains constantly. So any rain that hits anything over in Wildwood, whether it be the shopping center or the buildings, the office buildings, it all just flows through Wildwood. People get flooded back in Scotch Pine. Then you have all the other people who get flooded out when that swale overflows. Unfortunately, now we have some animal issues over there that have filled up. So that pond needs to be dredged. So I think I'm wondering when we're going to, two-fold question, when are we going to get something done to get the owners of that pond, which took us years to research, to dredge it? The second piece of this here is the DNR contribution, for lack of a better word. So over time, that pond is filled in, and we know that the dam has been faulty for a number of years. Got that piece. We could let that dam fail, and the pond drains. And it's going to right down the river. It's going to the St. Mary's River, and it's going to go into the St. Mary's River. So I have a hard time saying that the county is responsible for the dam, when if we just let it fail, the water would just flow straight to the St. Mary's River. And I think that's the wrong approach, honestly, because, yeah, we are in this thing together with the state. But the drainage area and all that fills in that pond, coming from Wildwood, coming from the other thing. I remember the St. Mary's River, that is the headwater of the St. Mary's River per se, since it's the only enclosed one-county river that we have in the state. I don't know why DNR isn't going to be willing to at least contribute some of that $570,000 that Ms. Cudmore just put up, rather than put up, say we don't put the $570,000 up, and the dam fails, what's the state going to tell us?
well, we would have to, if you have a dam and you don't maintain it and it breaches,
Yeah.
this is in danger of doing right now. The erosion is up to about halfway through the dam. Then any of the sediment that's contributed downstream, you have to go clean that up. So it would cost us a lot more money to actually clean it up.
Why do we have to clean up why do we have to clean it up?
Because
the dam failed.
we own the property, we own the dam, and
We don't own
we're
the
not
river.
maintaining it. Sure.
No, this will flow into St. Mary's Lake.
No, and then the St. Mary's River.
It goes to St. Mary's Lake, then to St. Mary's River, you're correct. But it gets into the St. Mary's Lake first. And I don't know, I can't understand why MDE doesn't come out and help us fund this if it's truly a problem within the state. This is like a sediment pond for St. Mary's River, or one of the many, St. Mary's Lake being the next one. And I don't see why they can't get some money forward to help us pay for these. Is there anything downriver from that dam that would be damaged if this pond fails? If this?
Well, every dam that you have in the river was created there. I don't think this one was originally created for flood protection. I think it was created for the farm.
Right.
And so every dam that is in the river actually slows down the water. So the lake does the same thing. And when you get down to Route 5 at the bottom of 246, that's where you have your flooding problems. So,
Right.
We could approach it and actually breach the dam ourselves, not so it would blow out. We don't want to blow out where we have to go cleaning up the water downstream or the river downstream. But one of the options is to breach the dam.
Have we talked to the Soil Conservation District here in Leonardtown about this particular dam?
Oh, yes, and MDE came down and met with us at their Emergency Operations Center talking about this dam as well.
So while we're all stepping on soapboxes,
Yeah.
my problem is not with this, but the state is very quick to enforce their regulations. And when I read through this memorandum, my very basic understanding of it, it looks like it just says we agree to follow the laws of the state. So I'm not quite sure why we necessarily need it, other than they say we need to sign a document saying we need to follow the laws of the state. But the state does not take care of its own. And right now down in Scotland, we have Hollis Lake that is owned by the state, and they have not done any maintenance on that, and that's impacting the homeowners down there. So that's, there's a little bit of hypocrisy in the way that the state handles water management in our county and in the state.
Mr. Couch, here's what, and Ms. Cudmore, before you spend any money or allocate any money, I'd like you to look into what's called the Bay Restoration Resiliency Coastal Resiliency Fund. I'm familiar with that program because I have a piece of property has a dam, and the dam's been breached. Now, what they want to do with the property my wife and I own is they want to put multiple small ponds. And it's like a terracing effect for the water, because they do want to collect any sediment or whatever could come through there and keep St. Mary's Lake or St. Mary's River or whatever estuary, this Chesapeake Bay, as clean as possible. But what they've approached my wife and I about is, they having the money to help, and we would have to get involved in some kind of program. Now, look, I'm a commissioner, I'm with government, but when the state wants to come along and help me, I'm kind of, oh, wait a minute now. So I want to really research that. But I would like you to look into it, because the thing that concerns me is, what does Johnson Pond do for the community? Do people, are they allowed to go to fish there? That's a question.
Not today, they are not.
So are they allowed to go swim there?
No.
What is the public allowed to do at this pond?
Nothing on the property at this time. If it becomes a sports complex, then it opens up to the public. But today, there's...
Okay, so there's no real benefit to the citizens right now, and for us to spend $570,000 fixing it, other than we fix it and hope we don't have a hurricane or some event that wipes it out. So with that said, I guess my point to you would be, and again, Commissioner Guy, you need 3 commissioners to go with this. I'd like you to look into alternatives, breach the dam, and look at maybe there's ways that we can get help, partnerships, to do something different there that controls the erosion, controls the sediment, helps clean our bay and our waterways, but doesn't cost us $570,000.
Okay. The one thing we got to be careful of is, if we do breach the dam, the property for the sports complex is cut in half by the river. So to gain access from one side to the other, we either need to drive across the dam that's there, or we need to create something in the future. Yeah.
Let me ask this question. We have Mako coming up in a week or two, and we'll all be over in Ocean City with all of our state officials. Can this question be deferred for a couple of weeks so we can go over and talk to them about this?
Sure.
I make that, at least we'll be there, we'll have the MDE, the DNR, and all the other people there to talk to face, so we can probably set up a meeting and have this discussion with them, and see if they're willing to parlay into this situation.
And take this name, Les Gould, G-O-U-L-D. He's the person with Coastal Resiliency with DNR.
And I think we probably got numerous lakes like this in our county. I live at the head of the Ledford Pond, which is a 15-acre pond, and I'm sure I can assure you it's actually collected thousands of tons of sediment in the head part of it. The dam itself is starting to fail. The owner is doing nothing. And you can look down, they got a 10-foot overflow pipe going through the dam with numerous holes in it now where water's draining into it, it's rusting away. And he has no intention of doing anything. And if it fails, it fails. So, I mean...
well, Commissioner President Guy, that's not the owner's fault. Like, my wife and I don't our dam.
Yeah, I don't blame that.
Well, look, this idea, they'll design it for you. Yeah, it sounds great. They'll design it for free, but can you afford to do it? I mean, this is like $1.2 million, $1.3 million.
Sure.
So it's,
Well, this owner, same way. He said, hey, I can't afford to fix it. So,
and you see the cost. I mean, this is a cost.
Right. You're looking at a small cost here, really compared to what it could be.
It would be different if people could swim in it or fish in it.
Being used recreational-wise would be a different thing.
And very similar to the Wildwood Pond that you had mentioned, it's very shallow.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm
There's
not
people
sure.
fishing it.
Yeah, you could fish, but I'm
They are
not sure
fishing
you
in
can
it?
swim.
Yeah. I don't know if they're catching, but there's full of cattails in.
It's called recreation.
They stand there side and fish in the afternoon.
So can we,
Can we defer this then until after the Mako conference? Sure. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hope for a small hurricane season.
We don't want to clean up after.
Exactly.
Thank you. And next on the agenda is from the Department of Finance, Ms. Jeanette Cudmore presenting the American Rescue Grant update.
Good
Ms.
morning.
Cudmore?
I'm going to sit over here because I'm going to invite some people up to help me.
Good, good.
Right now, this is a quarterly update, and I just submitted the update through June 30, and the amount that we have spent so far in FY22 was $5.6 million. So we are making progress. We're spending money based on your approvals.
no, let me hold you right there.
Yes, sir.
When is the deadline for having to spend these funds?
You have to encumber the money by the December 2024, and final spend checks written by December 2026.
So what is the urgency of doing it now?
There's no urgency. Depending on the projects that you might approve, some projects might need a longer lead time to get them completed. So that's the only reason.
But December 2024 is the
It's a
deadline.
long way, yes, sir.
All right.
That's when monies need to be encumbered, and then the final checks to be spent by December 2026.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. So I received a few requests, or even updated requests, and so the total amount of requests right now that have been received since last year is $44.6 million. So the first one is a request from IT, and what they're not requesting additional funds, and Bob Kelly's unable to be here today. He's actually requesting to use leftover funding from the middle mile of about $273,479 and move that to the last mile project that was already approved. And the same with the remaining $95,907 from the audio visual equipment project also to the last mile. And a lot of this is that he needs the funding more for the last mile because he received the other $2 million grant for the middle mile. So he's able to realign and take care of that. And again, today is just a presentation. So this is just to provide you the information, and then we plan to come back on the 23rd of August.
Is
And
Mr. Kelly available?
not today.
Okay. When you see him, maybe you can ask him. I know we have a limit, or I think 2,200 feet, which seems to be quite a ways. I mean, it seems like you can get, but we're kind of getting out of people to serve. So it seems like I had a person reach out to me this morning about, hey, look, we've been waiting, and they're like 3,200 feet.
Okay.
Now, my point gets to be, we have to figure out when is the bang for the buck, but as long as we have this, what I call free money, it seems like we have to maybe we may want to look at how many people do we get if we go from 2,200 feet to 3,500 feet, or
Right.
whatever 100 feet.
Right.
Does that give us, more penetration of homes? So I guess I would like to see if Mr. Kelly can come up with that type of information, that if we extend it from 2,200 feet,
Right.
what would be the bang for the buck is my
Okay.
term. So
Okay.
whether it goes to 3,000 or 3,500 or whatever it does.
All right, I'm sure he's watching wherever he is, and we'll get that information when we bring it.
And also based upon the amount of money that he's got left over,
Right.
can he make that work for people?
Okay.
Okay.
All right, sure. And the next item is for, and I'm going to have Chris Casalemas come up. Chris, come on up. And this is a request for funding to help about 45 nonprofits and 75 businesses. You saw the businesses that came forward this morning. Those are probably a representative of business and other small businesses in the community, that could probably use the money.
So thank you, Jeanette. So we've had a couple of requests from nonprofits and businesses asking if we're going to be doing any more grant programs. Some other counties are doing that. Yeah, so we can do grants if there's funding available. I put down here in my memo, we could do $5,000 grants, $7,500 grants, $10,000 grants. I wouldn't recommend going below 5,000, but obviously, if the grant money goes up, we think, as Jeanette said, based on our previous grants, we'll probably get maybe 45 nonprofits to apply, maybe 75 businesses to apply, and they would have to self-certify that they were harmed by the pandemic. So we have had some grant programs.
Back up for a second.
Yep.
They would have to self-certify they've been harmed by the pandemic.
Correct.
So I'd like to think we've already put that out there. So would this be some kind of a new qualification for them, or would the old qualification work?
Commissioner Hewitt, if they already have something on records certifying that they were harmed, that would probably be good enough. We still have those records. That's a good point.
So you can use the information from before?
I believe so.
What I'm hearing from small business, and look, I love small business. I was in small business a long time. It's not so much business. Anybody who's any good has got plenty of business. Problem is, they can't get any help.
Right.
So when we give money to them, I know one small business owner in the southern part of the county said one day he looked in his account, found $7,500 in there. He said, where'd that come from? Mm-hmm. So then he figured it out. He called Ms. Hinkle, who's been wonderful in her job. Mm-hmm. He said, where'd this come from? She said, well, the commissioners gave more money. Now, he's receptive to it. He was appreciative of it. But the point is, he wasn't sure he really needed it. He said what he needs is cashiers. He needs people to man the business so, they can stay open. So I'm not sure this is going to help, and I'm not trying to say I don't want to help small business. But the key gets to be, we can't just keep throwing money at it. So I'm not trying to say I'm against it. I'm just trying to say, unless we can get them more help so they can stay open longer, I'm not sure this is going to work.
Commissioners, as part of the board docs, I put the latest executive summary that came from NACO that was loaded. This is really a nice summary. I mean, a lot of the final rule and everything, I mean, it's thick. It's hard to go through and read. I really like this summary here because it kind of shows you, and it does talk about the negative economic impacts, assistance to small businesses, assistance to nonprofits, and it kind of goes out to, how those that might be impacted, disproportionately impacted, and the different types of things that can be used. I mean, a lot of it, yes, trying to get maybe workers to come and help, and maybe give incentives maybe to help these workers. I mean, that might be part of it to get, people back to work. But I mean, read this, and that's why I kind of included it in the board docs. This is really a nice, short executive summary that's on the board docs.
Yeah, initially, when this round of funding came through, I did not put a request in because we'd done several grant programs. But if there's money available and the commissioners feel this is a priority, like I said, we have gotten some calls. Some nonprofits are saying, hey, now I see other counties. I think Calvert might be doing something for nonprofits. What's St. Mary's County doing?
Yeah.
So that's what we're responding to.
All right. Any other questions? And I'm sure y'all have seen it on the Conduit Street. There's a lot of counties throughout the state that are doing it in additional fund. It's a way to use the funding. That's all.
Okay.
Okay?
Any other questions, anybody? Thank you very much, Jeanette.
You're welcome. Thank
Chris,
you,
thank you.
Let's have Steve Walker and Mr. Edelin come up. We have a request from Emergency Services. And their total request is $727,000. And gentlemen, if you'd like to go through your request, please.
Well, the first one obviously is an ambulance, and certainly I know there's some controversy, but the reason we did this was we have just recently purchased an ambulance for the Veterans Home. The Veterans Home they're a very busy facility, so they've had some challenges in getting their facility ready for us to work out of there. So they're just not ready. So the ambulance that we have, we chose not to let it sit. We dumped it out into the community with our responders on there, and it basically is a roving ambulance. Well, while we thought it would be an improvement, it was so much improvement, it's incredible. I mean, it truly is. This has been a true game changer in response in this county because they're not tied to first due areas. They run basically the entire county. Obviously, the problem is going to be is that when the Veterans Home is ready, that goes back to that facility. So again, just like Mr. Castellanos, when the call came for additional monies, additional requests, this is my first list. If you want to impact our residents, this is absolutely the first way you will impact them. This is absolutely a game changer in response because this ambulance will go anywhere. it will be staffed. And I'm going to let Mr. Hedlund, the chief here, talk about it a little bit more. He is the one that is administering this as the direct manager. He sees that direct impact. But if you want to talk a little bit about the ambulance.
Thank you, sir, and good morning, Commissioners. Good morning. So, as Director Walker had stated, initially this unit and personnel were designated for the Charlotte Hall Veterans Home. I met with them on 28 June, did an NDOC with the employees. I took them down to the facility to show them around, introduce them to the personnel down there, and at that point I was advised they weren't quite ready for us. So I had the personnel in the unit up and ready to go on Tuesday, July 5 after the 4th of July weekend. So I decided I was going to put that unit on the road to supplement coverage in the county, and it worked out really well. So when a unit that has a big footprint, for example, Mechanicsville, 7th District, Ridge area, gets a call, that unit heads out to that area and covers that area until that unit from that primary area gets to the patient, to the hospital, and back in that area. And they've been running calls in that area while that unit was not there, where otherwise we'd have had to wait for a second or third due unit to come. You're talking 20 minutes, a half hour. If you think about, for example, Ridge being out of position at their station, and you have a priority emergency out on the point, it's a pretty big run from Valley Lee or from Lexington Park to get out to that area. So we're always looking for better ways to do things and to better serve the citizens, especially in an emergency capacity. And this has proven to be of great benefit. I would say we could put 3 of these units to work at certain times, you know, when we have big call loads. But but I'll settle, you know, something's better than nothing. So I was telling Director Walker that it saddens me when this unit gets pulled to the Charlotte Hall Veterans Home, we're going to lose that resource. And he said there might be hope. So that's why we're here before you this morning, that there's a possibility that we may be able to continue that service to the citizens.
Well, so when the unit is placed at Charlotte Hall, it'll still be able to backfill when other calls come in?
To some degree, yes, it will be. But again, right now it's like a primary. So yes, there will be some, but it certainly will not be at the level of what we see now. So
that unit will be it will be stationed at the campus of the Charlotte Hall Veterans Home, but it will be a 911 resource. If there's any emergencies in that area geographically, then the closest unit's going to respond to that emergency, and they understand that.
Tell me, I'm sorry. Go ahead. You have one in Leonardtown now, right?
Yes.
Okay, and then the second one is in Charlotte Hall.
Correct.
Okay, now the one in Charlotte Hall, what's it taking us so long to get that thing up and running? I know we've been talking about this.
Well, that's what we just talked about. It is the Veterans Home. They are not ready for us to come and occupy.
Oh, the Veterans Home is
Yes.
Okay, fine. Now, if you were to put this is the third one then. Okay, and where would you locate it? Bay District or something, somewhere?
No, actually, I think centrally located. It would work out of our backup center, because it is intended to cover the entire county, but let me let the chief respond to that.
So Commissioner, primarily they would sit at the county seat, and then when somebody gets a call, for example, they get a call like say in Ridge, then that unit is going to start towards Ridge, and while Ridge is out taking care of that call that they're handling, that unit will be there to cover that area while they're not there, or if it's a major incident, it would be starting that way anyway. So
okay, I totally support this, so excuse me for having so many questions.
Sir.
But here's what I want to say to you. I think it's very important if someone calls an ambulance, they expect someone to be there within 5-10 minutes or whatever the reasonable time is. So you get a call from Ridge, you're sitting here in Leonardtown, how would you know Ridge isn't available? Do they say, I'm out and you're on the way? Or how would you be able to respond so quickly?
So if there was a call in Ridge, we have a career unit at Ridge that's staffing their station as a primary coverage unit. But when that unit gets a call and they're going to that call this unit, this roving will be heading to cover that area while they're gone.
But let me add to that, okay? So what we've done is again, this is not just EMS by itself. 911 is very much involved in this, and what we've done is our dispatchers, again, this was something that was never done in this county. Now our dispatchers know that if Ridge runs a call, they are to send this unit to head south to help to cover that. So this is integrated with more than one division of EMS. Now 911 is a part of exactly what you're talking about. So we have proactively done that. Again, it's never been done before in the county. It's working phenomenal.
So just a point of clarification, this unit isn't backing up just career, right?
Oh, absolutely not.
Okay.
This unit is here to take care of the citizens of the
So
county,
if
Commissioner.
a volunteer unit gets called out, this unit's
Absolutely.
backing, okay. Just making sure that was
It sounds
clear.
like a great
But we
idea.
end up at times where there's just, there's holes in the county because we're being
So where
overwhelmed with
is
calls.
the first ambulance based out of, right?
So the first one is based out of Leonardtown. It was old, if you remember, we bought it used. It breaks down a bit, but I don't want to get rid of it because it's a great backup. It also is used for vaccination sites and whatnot. It also has been used, and you've heard me talk about it before, this is expanded where we've had more than one of the rescue squads where their units, it happens, their units were broke down. So we will shift that up there, and they use that for their volunteers or their career. So that one really is becoming a backup ambulance. It's just not as dependable. We've had the county mechanic look at it. I think that it's got some problems with the air conditioning system and others. So again, I don't want to get rid of it, but it's not dependable to the degree that we need it to be.
Yeah, that unit's a 2013 with 180,000 miles on it. And it's a good reserve unit, but as far as a frontline unit,
So, but it's here, and we do use it, but again, it's just, I don't want to put that out as a primary unit. Don't trust it.
Can you tell me how many ambulances we have throughout the county for everybody to use?
say that again, sir?
How many ambulances are there in the county between all the rescue squads, ALS, yourselves, et cetera?
So it's variable. You talking about the volunteers units?
I want to know how many ambulances we have.
I've heard it's about 65, and I don't have a definitive count.
I
but
don't know it's that many. So I can tell you, like, for example, Mechanicsville, for their geographical area, they justify 3 ambulances for just that area. And we're talking about, having 2 to cover, the whole county. And like the director said, the units that we have, they're not for us, they're for the citizens. So the volunteers call often and say, hey, we had, 2 units in the shop and our other ones, having problems. We send that over there for the volunteers to use. And they've used it on numerous occasions because it's for the people, it's not just for us.
So I
I
think,
realize what we're trying to do is try to integrate all these professionals, the volunteers, you guys, ALS. I just want to know how many ambulances we have in St. Mary's County across the board. I know you don't have the answer off the top of your head, but I do know the answer
I will
at
give
the
you
end
a
of the day. 'cause-
definitive answer.
so I guess along Commissioner Morgan's line of questioning is the value in purchasing another ambulance versus the value in having more staff just spread out to make use of the ambulances that are already in the county. And through cooperation with our volunteer rescue squads, just being able to staff a little better, help them out, and make use of the ambulances that taxpayers have already paid for.
I understand that. And my biggest thing on that is if I'm using your equipment and taking care of your area, you're okay with it. But if I come borrow something from you to take care of, across the county, I think that's a little bit of a different.
Well, let's remember, the taxpayers pay for it all, one
I
way or
agree.
the other.
Yes,
So
sir.
however
I
you
agree
want to
100%
use
with
this, the taxpayers will pay for it.
I agree.
So I do have the response for you, and you've heard me talk about it before, where the volunteers, their staff can go up and down, and we are the base, and we need to be this base that will be able to provide service whether their staffing is up and down. This is part of that base that we are building, that we will always be able to provide that service to be able to float around. That really is what we're doing here, is to help to build that. But again, what I said earlier, this has truly been a game changer. It just is phenomenal. It has never been done before. They've tried, but it just hasn't worked. But this works. It works very well.
How does our ALS system work in this? Because they're roaming all over the county, right?
They are, but advanced
So
life support.
don't they also fill in when these
They
Ridge
do.
dispatches the one and only ambulance they have, for example.
They do, but they're not ambulances.
I know
They
that.
are-
I know that. Not
they are-
ambulance.
They are
That's true.
responding and providing medics, so
Right.
they are truly, there's a partnership between what we're doing, our paramedics, and the advanced life support, so
Right.
it's working. Yes, they're still having some difficulty attracting volunteers, so we're running a good portion of the calls, but they are working with us. So it truly is.
Yeah, I
But
just want
they're
to make
not-
sure we're not overrunning things. We're integrating everything, the ALS, the ambulances, our volunteers, our paid.
There's
Gotta be-
there's nothing that runs into it where there's bumping. It's working together. But this is paramedic ambulance where when the ambulance rolls up, you've got a medic on board. And what the ALS was designed at the time was basic life support ambulance would get there and they would do the transports and you would have to wait for a medic to get on the scene. You don't have to do that with this ambulance. There would be medics on board. So I just think it's a great idea. I know it's an expense, but, you know.
Just always,
I think the
we're just
ambulance is
always
not a
looking
bad
for,
idea. I think you're onto something.
yeah, we're just always looking for areas that we can improve in, and this right here, I think, is something that is of great benefit if it's something that we can make happen. If not, then, you know.
Good. Good. Anything else, Commissioners? Okay, very much.
That was ambulances.
Yeah, that's number one.
Got more items.
Okay.
All right, the next
H2.
one is personal protective equipment, and this is something that Chief Edelin
These
brought
coolers, right?
forward. No, this one is almost just about running gear that you would see with a fireman. And I think you had asked the question, you know, won't firemen have them get on the scene? Yes, but they don't always get there at the same time. So we just recently had, I know you all heard it, of the accident where a woman ran into a building and the car flipped over. One of our medics actually went in to treat, but that building wasn't stable. So could they have benefited from the equipment? I'm going to let Chief Edelin talk about that because he's the one that brought this idea. I can't argue with it, so.
Yeah, so Commissioners, I know that's a great expense up front as far as getting started, a startup for personal protective equipment. But I really feel that it's necessary because we have these emergency providers out here providing service to the citizens. And sometimes, you know, for the most part, they're going out here and they're picking up somebody that's sick or injured and they apply, you know, care, put them in the ambulance, take them to the hospital. But there are times where there's extenuating circumstances. For example, somebody's trapped in an automobile that requires extrication and the provider has to get inside the car and initiate care while the fire crews are cutting this person out of this car. I was probably on board for 2 weeks, and I got an email from a safety officer at one of the volunteer departments that said, "Hey, Chief, we have a problem. We had a bad accident. My crew was cutting the patient out of the car, and you had a paramedic in the car working on the patient with no protective equipment." And I was like, "Yee." So it's kind of the hot zone. That was one incident, and another one was, as the director stated, we had that car that went into the building, the patient was ejected, the building was unstable, the patient was in critical condition, the paramedics tending to the patient, providing care, trying to package and treat the patient to get the patient out of the structure while the fire crews were in there trying to stabilize the building from collapsing, and here this provider is there unprotected without any protective equipment.
Tell me, what would this protective equipment
Protective equipment,
what would
sir.
they look like? I mean,
Like a fireman,
so how would you differentiate an EMS from a fire person?
because of the way we would mark them.
So one would say EMS on it, and you wouldn't have a conflict with EMS trying to do fire department role?
No, sir. No, sir.
Have you asked the fire department about this?
We're strictly EMS. We don't do fire stuff, but, you know, the requirement to protect these providers, if something was to happen to one of them and they were to become injured, it would be significant.
We will not do fire department duties. There will not be a conflict.
I just wonder if people are going to understand who's doing what or who's who.
So,
They would wear, so they're identified by, if they're wearing this type of gear, they would be identified by their helmets. So officers wear certain types of helmets, firemen wear certain types of helmets, EMS providers wear blue helmets with the EMS stickers on them to signify EMS. And then the rest of the equipment is just what it is, protective equipment.
So you don't see any confusion going on with fire, because, I mean, I remember out from my service station years ago, I mean, it'd be a wreck, and I had plenty of them out there, and the fire department would show up, and they would get the people out or whatever they would do, that whatever tools they had, and then the EMS would take over.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, but I don't think they're going to be wearing it on every single incident. I think it depends on the scenario that, where there's a danger that they would need to go in, so.
That's correct.
Yeah,
If it's
I
a
don't
regular routine medical call,
I don't think they're gonna need
then,
that.
you know, they're protecting their.
Would you want to go into a structure that is unsafe? I mean, it's one thing to have someone sick. Look, I mean, someone needs help. I
But
get it.
that's the purpose, you just mentioned it. If there's somebody laying there, we're not going in if there's not a need to, so.
Well, we have a duty to act and a responsibility, and if someone's laying there in critical condition,
I get it.
we have to
I get it.
treat them.
Yeah, no, I'm not trying to say you don't. I just wonder if you hurt your own people.
This is good that you've brought this legitimate concern to us. Just two questions around it. Do our volunteer departments have this equipment right now? And if not, do they need it? And do firefighters have any particular training that our people would in turn need in order to, if they're going to be expected to have this equipment and therefore expected to go into these situations?
Most of them have the training by becoming certified and what they do. So the training is, you know, pretty much how they're built coming up through becoming EMTs, paramedics and such. The fire gear can get quite complex depending on what they're doing. So, you know, they go on as far as breathing apparatus and all that. We're not looking at all that. We're just looking at the basic necessities to properly protect our people. In the event that something happens, we don't want the liability hanging over top of our heads.
They were talking about a hard hat, some kind of canvas jacket or whatever, butyl rubber suits or whatever.
So the fullest degree of protection would be the structural gear, like firemen wear.
Right.
But there's a EMS side, like where just some of them wear the bloodborne pathogen compliant stuff that has a barrier. It's not permeable for like fluids and such to go through. And
Like a
steel
butyl rubber
toes,
suit.
the shanks are prevent like sharp objects from piercing through the bottom of the feet and things of such. We just want to make sure that our personnel are properly protected. I know that it comes with an expense, but, you know, and I sat back and I was scratching my head. I said, whoa, this is a big expense. But I think that it's necessary because if something was to happen to one of our personnel and we weren't properly protecting them, then we failed them. And
I guess my thinking, I'm sorry, Commissioner Coe, I would just say to you, work with fire or work with, you know, what's that, Emergency Services Board? I mean, you guys have to work together on these kinds of things.
And
So
Commissioner Hewitt's bringing that up because there's been concern voiced to us from the fire side.
But still, what I'm getting at is both groups need to work together. So you need to make sure that who you're working with understands who does what too.
We will not do their duties, I can tell you that.
So, but again,
I'll reach out
back
to the fire board, so.
My other question, do our volunteer departments have this equipment right now?
they do.
They do.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this was an oversight on our part that we didn't.
I think that it was just something just starting up.
Building.
We're still building.
I think we're at the point where it's something we need to take a serious look at.
Okay.
Okay. Next.
The next are the 12-volt coolers. This is really kind of a stopgap, and what I mean is that what needs to be built into the vehicles are a larger box that can hold medical supplies at climate-controlled temperatures. This was kind of a we'll get by until we, you know, build something in future budgets, and you can certainly talk about what you had talked about originally.
So that, you know, you can imagine the equipment that we're required to carry, medications, intravenous fluids, airway equipment that is, it has, like on the ends of the airway equipment, we stick down in someone's airway, it's activated by the heat in the airway to form a seal. Down in the airway, and if it gets heated up like in the truck on a hot summer day, then it becomes distorted and it becomes waste. The medication's required to be within certain temperature ranges as well as the intravenous fluids. So if someone's suffering a heat emergency and they need intravenous fluids because they're dehydrated and they're suffering a heat-related emergency, the last thing they need is hot IV fluid pushed into their circulation. Same thing in the wintertime. If they're suffering a cold emergency, hypothermia, hypothermia. The last thing they need is cold fluids going through their body. So we have to maintain the temperatures on this stuff, and the only way we can currently do it is to keep the vehicles running with the stuff going, and that's kind of iffy. What I bought forth is they make boxes that go in the back of these trucks so that all the equipment can be properly mounted, don't become projectiles in the event of an accident, and there's heating and cooling fixtures that go in these boxes to maintain climate control in there. And that's something that we're working forward on, but for the time being, we're just looking for the ability to maintain temperature on medications and intravenous fluids and such.
All right, sounds like a good investment.
Next.
Trailer cameras, and I know you had mentioned that, and I know that was because of some of the events in the community. I think it's a great idea. Just to kind of give you an idea of what we have already, we have 6 cameras right now, cameras that go way up. We use them for various events. For us, we used it when they found the archaeological dig down at St. Mary City, because they asked us for that, so we would put it up. We have used it for the vaccination sites. We've used it for the Sheriff's Department to help secure vehicles. So many different things. I think a couple more could help us. What we do is if you asked me to use it, we would bring it, set it up, it would be running. I would give you the software to watch this camera on your computer. When the vaccination site's up, I would put it up in my office and watch, get a feel for what was going on over Hollywood. They're phenomenal. They are absolutely very important tools. Again, Sheriff's Department wants them. We have used them for Valley Lee for some of their events. We've used them for 7 districts. We've used them for various ones throughout the county. Anybody that asks us, as long as they're not committed, we share them. So
Okay.
we do that.
That's the key is committed. Excuse me. So I have looked into this, and I know I'm not an expert, but I do go and talk to experts, and talk to the chief, Rogers, there at Hollywood about different things that maybe could have made a difference that night. And being there, and it's not about me, because I'm not an expert again, but being there, some of the things I thought could have made a difference. Electronic signs. Now, we may already have those.
We have
but
a
if
lot.
we could make them available, whether it's carnivals, county fairs, Jazz Fest,
Yes, sir.
protest kind of things, that tells people, you know, no backpacks, no hoodie, whatever we're trying to avoid, okay? But make multiple ones available where they come in and when you get to the event so people can see them. I also like to see if we could look at high-intensity lighting. One of the things they talked about at Hollywood in particular was behind the cook shack area, it's awfully dark. And people have to go back in that area, and you're always worried about security. There's no fencing or anything to stop that. So some type of high-intensity lighting that we could provide for either parking lot lighting or around the building kind of lighting, even around the restrooms kind of lighting. I think better light makes people safer, feel safe. Trailer cams are great. Barriers. Now, the term I use is jersey barriers, like we see, but buy them out of plastic, ones that can be filled with water. So we can avoid someone being in a vehicle or want to run people over. And we don't want to have everybody in and out of maybe one access point, entry and exit point. We want probably multiple. But we probably want to have very limited access for vehicles.
Agreed.
So if someone wants to get into an area where there's a bunch of people and wants to drive a vehicle through there, so some kind of jersey barrier thing that they could fill with water. Now, I think a command center, but that's not you, that's the sheriff. But something what I found interesting that night was there was a deep-voiced young male who started yelling, "Run, run, run." Shots, gunshots. I mean, very loud. I mean, you would have thought it was a PA. And people just started stampeding. So the point is, it would be, if we had some kind of a command center, some kind of central point, that we could give people a PA system that could say, you know, return to your car, or shelter in place, or some kind of control. Because watching all those people run and knock people down and people getting up, and then when they got all back into the cook area and around the bingo hall and everything, they were very upset. And I think the factor of not having a central kind of authoritative control center could have helped. That's what I'm trying to
I would agree. So let me respond to a few of these.
say. Okay, go ahead.
So cameras, so again, we currently have 6. I think a couple more would certainly help. Signboards, we have 4 signboards in emergency services.
Good.
Sheriff's Department has many, many signboards. Public Works also has many. Generally, and again, if we ever got to safety plans or whatever, we certainly could enable this better. But again, if they make requests, we share these. We've shared them with 7 District. We've shared them with Valley Lee. Anybody that needs it, again, as long as they're not committed, but there are so many in the county now. Could we use more? Maybe. But again, we share ours easily. And, we have people, our vehicles, and they transport them out, leave them, they come back and set them up. So we do them. We use them for recruiting, but we use them for so many different things. So signboards, I think, is really
Not
important.
to interrupt, again, you
Yes,
point
sir.
out, you have some, Public Works has some. How many do we got? Collectively.
I have 4. I
Let's
don't know
by
the
the
numbers on the
23rd.
others.
I think the key gets to be, Commissioner Morgan, is that we can show the public we're doing something. That they can
I'm not
show
doubting
up.
we're doing something, but if he has 4 and he has 16, and he has 30, there's 50 boards
I know,
out
I get it,
there.
I get
I'm
it.
just
It's a matter
trying
of
to think-
coordinating
I'm just
using
trying to figure, if there's something that has to be done, as you're pointing out, cooperating the sheriff, not the sheriff, but the firemen working with the rescue squads, if we have all these things out there, what is the inventory
I agree,
out there?
I
What is
agree.
the inventory that we have to work with across the board of the county? If everybody's working together, we should at least know how many units we have to play with.
Well, again, you can probably have that information by the next time,
Yes. Sure.
in which case we can probably recommend to us if you need any more, if you got enough.
Right.
Does that sound good?
Yeah, I'm just curious how much we have, because everybody comes in with their own list, but obviously the left hand probably didn't talk to the right, and, well, you have 4, but the sheriff may have 20. I don't know.
And perhaps the rescue squads, the fire departments, maybe they don't know everything, all of the resources, because, again, we're ready to help them whatever they need. So if they make a request, we're going to provide that for them.
I think what we need to do is to develop a plan
I would
for all
agree
these
with that.
events. I think we need to start doing that first, and then we'll figure out what we have out there.
Yeah, and I think that's, and again, I was waiting to kind of hear more from you that
Yeah.
I'll start to work on that again. I think the county attorney's office will need to do some of that language, but I'll begin to make. a
Any
concern.
large event needs to have a
Yes.
plan.
Jersey barriers, I got a price yesterday. They have these plastic Jersey barriers in a little kit that comes on a trailer, so it gets hauled around, gets set up, you fill it with water, and then you can bring it back. One kit, and I think it's about 8 or 10, maybe more barriers, is like $30,000. It's really fairly convenient, and I think it's a great idea. Light towers, we have 4 right now in our department. When the sheriff's department needs a light tower in the middle of the night and the state highway can't come or public works can't come, my people will get up and come out and set up and actually provide them. They've done it for accident scenes, crime scenes, fire department scenes where they're working on a fire. So we use that quite extensively. Public Works also, to Commissioner Morgan's point, they have light towers. I don't know how many Public Works has, but those are all available.
Well, I would say to you, the key here is back to communication, because
I would
I know
agree.
the president at Hollywood told me, well, I worked something out with Bubby Knott at the Trading Post to get light towers. Now, that's great. Bubby's a great guy. But I think as a county, we can have those resources.
Yes.
So they don't have to go out into the private sector and
Right.
get them.
So, but, and there's a lot of resources, and again, communication, I think, will certainly get better, but anyway, so trail cameras, I think a couple more will certainly help us, but I think there's some other things here that, I think the plastic jerseys is an interesting part. I really, when we brought it up and I'm looking at them, I'm thinking, well, that's a pretty neat idea, especially the way it comes in this mobile ability to move them around easily, put them back on there, and then they're ready to go whenever we need them. So I think that's a neat idea. Last one on this is Surface Pro tablets. This is kind of trying to get ahead of the game, because as we build out our CAD, which is still about 15 months out, we'll certainly be moving towards that more, trying to save Mr. Kelly some money in his budget as we go forward. Because, again, these are exactly what we would get, and we would actually have him procure them. But that's just kind of ahead of the game, knowing that this is coming. Once our CAD we're going to need that mobile ability. So that's
Are
what the
these
purpose
similar
is.
to what the rescue squads had in their request earlier?
They're a little bit different because they want to use a little bit different technology. This is what the county uses exactly. These are good units and they serve us well. But again, we're going to go exactly with what IT tells us to do it, but it really is trying to, if there's money available, it's trying to get ahead of the game, knowing these expenses will come in the future, so.
Any other questions, Commissioners? Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time,
Thank you very much.
Have a good evening.
And then the last is George Erickson. Where'd that come? Come on up, George. But not least.
Good afternoon, Mr. Erickson.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. How are you doing today? The majority of our requests are requests that you've seen before. I think they're on the prior county administrator's recommended list. We can go down them one by one, and I'll provide you with a brief update. The first one, well, first, before we get started, I want to thank Mr. Walker. We talked about message boards just a few minutes ago. We've reinitiated this old program. It's a smoke testing program where we pump non-toxic smoke into the sewer system. Wherever there's a leak or a break, you can see the smoke come up through the ground. And again, there was some available message boards. We were able to borrow that from your EOC, not only provide public information before the event, because when you're dealing with smoke, people sometimes get a little alarmed, but we were able to address the citizens prior to and during and after. So we wanted to give a shout out to Steve for helping us out with the message board.
Good.
Anyway, that's not the purpose of the request today. The first one, St. Clement Shores wastewater treatment plant expansion. There was a $250,000 request from a prior recommendation. It was to start the initial design and evaluation of the sanitary sewer force main extensions into the service area. So the next question might be, what is the status of the treatment plant upgrade and design? Design is underway. It's a 12-month design process. We're looking to complete that early summer of 2023 and then bid it in the fall.
Okay, so next year.
Next year.
You'll finish the design.
And then bid it in the fall.
And if you
next
can
year.
bid it in the fall, you'll finish it in the summer of '24?
Probably the fall.
Of '24.
Probably going to be 15 to 18 months
All right.
construction.
Now, will you be in St. Clement Shores, the community, again? Or have you already done your upgrades there? I'm talking about Lady
Butter?
Baltimore and all that area down there. You're finishing up in there?
Correct.
Okay, so any expansion, will that be Rosebud? Will that be just additional areas that?
The sanitary sewer would be extended into the entire service area so that the bay restoration funds could be used simply for the connection from the house to
Would
the
it
main.
be the main trunk lines that could go down to like Brenton Bay Estates? And
Correct.
Good.
Correct.
And that's 2020, go ahead, one more time.
For this funding is for the initial design so that we can evaluate how much gravity force main we have to design, how much force main, how many pump stations. You know, the one trick here, there will be some pump stations. We may have to purchase property from an undeveloped parcel, so we need to find some willing landowners down in that area to also sell. We talked about funding. You know, currently the funding for the construction of that infrastructure extension is not in place. The CFO and I, we've been kicking around some really interesting and innovative ways to make this very affordable. We're talking about $30 to $50 a month, and also making it such that for a new EDU and a new connection, you wouldn't have to pay your capital contribution charges.
Well, wouldn't that be something?
We'll talk about that at the November joint meeting, but there's some good ideas coming out of this discussion.
Yeah.
We were always worried about building it and not requiring connections so that we got paid back. We're looking at front funding, interest-free money, and getting paid back by the per EDU, but basically taking capital contribution charges and stretching them over 20 years interest-free, making it affordable for everybody. We don't have a debt issue.
Where'd you come up with that idea? I mean, that's a good idea. I like it. I like it.
About 2 o'clock the other morning. I have a pad on the side of my bed, just you don't want to go there.
No, we won't go.
I think of
But I
things
guess
and
my
it
point is, that's a good idea, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
But it's just a way to address not requiring connections, addressing that extra issue of capital contribution charges costing people, making full use of bay restoration funds for the connection to the main, because it's not affordable to put the entire amount of infrastructure in.
I agree with
So some great ideas. This $250,000 does the kickoff. We actually received a proposal on July 10th for that first phase, about $75,000 of the $250,000. We're ready to get this started. And
Using some consultants like Dewberry or people who have already been
Absolutely.
used? Okay.
Same firm, in this particular case, the same firm designing the treatment plant.
Right.
We thought that would be a
good idea.
Good idea. The second one, water quality monitoring devices. This, again, was on your prior list. It's a $60,000 initiative. We performed an EPA-required risk and resiliency assessment on all of our water systems, and there were 15 high-priority projects, and here's 9. 5 public water wells and 4 water storage tanks were at high risk of intentional contamination, and the recommendation was to put some smart sensors to reduce vulnerability and to help us monitor any contamination that may occur. I think that's a great idea. Third project, Wacomico Shores failing infrastructure. It's probably not new news to Jim Gotch, even though he hasn't been here that long. We all know the issues we've had with water up in Wacomico Shores, especially Golf Course Drive. We received initial concurrence from this board for $398,000, and we are simply asking for the balance of that to be restored to our original request. It's going to cost us well over $1 million, so the Metropolitan Commission will also be putting $300 and some odd thousand to match this additional commitment to get up to that $1 million mark. Lead and copper rule, I'd like to give the county administrator some copies. This is a nice who, what, where, when, why two-pager, similar to what Jeanette was talking about earlier in your board docs. It tells you all about the new lead and copper rule. The bottom line is this. Effective December 16th, 2021, there's a new rule into effect. This memorandum is dated 7/19/2022, so it's hot off the press. By October 16th, 2024, we need to provide lead and inventory, a lead and copper inventory to the EPA, not just for the public side of the water, but also the private side of the water. So any commercial business, any residential lot that is hooked to the public water system, we need to find out what the material is of their service lines, not only from our line to the meter, but to the meter, to the house, and from the house to the inside. We are also responsible to ensure that those get replaced, which you can understand is pretty burdensome for the Metropolitan Commission. So the original request was $150,000. We asked that to be increased by $50,000 because this is going to be pretty onerous. It's going to be a combination of visual inspections, which would be physically digging up a line. You know we're going to get a lot of support for that. It's a combination of looking at building permit records, visual inspection. There's some neat new technology out there. You know, pipes of different materials transmit electricity at different frequencies. So there's a really new, innovative, non-invasive way to hook an electrode in one end and one on the other, find out the frequency that's transmitted based on time and frequency levels, and determine whether it's lead or copper or galvanized steel. So we're looking at maybe doing a technology like that.
That's interesting.
To calm the storm. But this is a mandated requirement, and it's extremely burdensome to the local utility. And we just wanted to pass that on, not to whine about it, just to tell you this is the reality, and it's extremely unusual that we would also be responsible for the private side as well as the public side. We're going to start out first, as required by the law, to look at public schools first, private schools as well, and all licensed daycare facilities. So those are the primary targets for lead at this current time. In addition to that, we test, the EPA tells us what to test every year for lead and copper. We've already been doing this for years. They give us a list of 80 addresses every year. We test for lead and copper. They've all been non-detect. Doesn't mean there's not any lead or copper. It just means they're at non-detectable limits. So that's what the lead and copper rule is all about. And if I could leave these with Dave before I leave, he can distribute those to read. Marley Taylor Reclamation Facility. This is the only new request that we have of the board today. Since 1979, we've been providing, under a contractual agreement with the Navy, to provide uninterrupted sewer service. Many people don't realize they average between 10 and 15 million gallons per month of effluent that comes to our facility to treat. So we thought it would be a good idea if we were talking about risk and resiliency. It was required of our water systems, but we said, why don't we take the biggest treatment facility, the most expensive treatment facility, the one that treats to the highest level of treatment, that serves one of our biggest economic drivers to the tune of 10 to 15 million gallons a day, and talk to the base about resiliency. During the DCIP discussions, that's the Defense Community Infrastructure Program, there's a grant available. This project was vetted through that team. I think Chris Casalemas led the team. Jim Gotch was in it, representatives from the base. The base came back and said, this is a great idea. Base resiliency for us is a great idea when it comes to sewer treatment capacity. Great project. Well, it wasn't eligible for DCIP funding. It just wasn't a big enough project. So we thought for $60,000 or sorry, $200,000, this might be a great opportunity in the ARPA funding to do risk and resiliency for the base. So it's a win for the county, a win for the base, and certainly a big plus for us.
So, Mr. Erickson, recognizing there's a cost-sharing arrangement between us and the base, would they help to participate in their share of this study?
This isn't a study. This is actually just putting, we already did the study. We funded the study.
Okay, regardless, okay, would they be putting up a share of the money? Or is this all in the county?
Well, this would all be Metropolitan Commission, and we are asking the county to see if you would be interested in ARPA funding, which would be
So that
grant
just the
funding.
Navy would not be contributing anything to this?
That's correct. It's all on our side of the fence, if you will. But it's redundancy and resiliency for them.
Okay, at the same time, could you give us, if you know, what is the status of that water and sewer contract that the base has put out, and how will that affect our metropolitan system?
Won't affect our system at all. Last I heard, they have narrowed it down to three shortlisted firms who are doing the evaluation. Interesting part about this evaluation, I think, is the physical review of all the assets happened after the shortlist as opposed to before. And I think that's the process that's going on right now. And then they plan to narrow that down to one. I don't know if it's by the end of this calendar year, but I think it's by the end of this calendar year.
Thank you.
So there's been no award.
Well, that's right. I haven't heard of an award, and we didn't discuss that this morning. I recognize with the new CEO, it might be better next time to have that discussion with the base.
They'll probably be ready to discuss it then.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. The last one is not a request, it's just an update. I think during our last presentation in May of this year, we talked about some funding assistance for folks who can't pay their water or sewer bills. I just wanted to let this board know that although we appreciate that gesture, we have already received, the county has already received about $200,000 in low-income house water assistance called the Low-Income House Water Assistance Program, the LEWAP program. And out of that $200,000, we have already helped 52 property owners to the tune of about $19,836. We don't think we're going to reach the $200,000 mark. They're probably going to roll this program over past the December 31st initial period until we expend the entire $200,000. So we thought it would be premature and unnecessary to ask the board for some additional assistance under the ARPA program to fund something that may or may not be needed. So it's good that we've been able to help 52 property owners, but it's only been about $20,000 so far.
Okay.
And that's the quick talking version of our request.
Okay, get two things for you.
Yes, sir.
First one is we talked about running the road from, I guess, Willows Road over to Tulagi Place this morning at the base. Can we make sure we don't have any pipes 6 feet under the ground so we don't end up with a
6 inches of cover
Rogers
in the hole.
Drive or whatever we had going on there, that we have some coordination between the two?
Easy to do between as-built and what we're doing on our side with our design manual. It costs $500–600 to do. It's called a test pit. So during your design, what you want to do is you test pit, which will tell you the exact horizontal and vertical location of those utilities before you design. You don't want to wait till you start construction to do your test pits.
We don't want to wait till we crack one.
Right.
Yeah, so that's important.
So we're making that a requirement now in our design manual, not just because of that project, but it's just a good idea in general.
Okay. Second one has to do with debt affordability.
Yes.
We know we've gotten this 60-40 split or whatever, I think that's the number, with our debt affordability. And the county, thankfully, has been well below theirs. I would assume you're well below yours, too.
We're well below. We have that artificial cap of 120, and our last year closeout was 101.
101?
We have the ability to go up to, I think, 160. And what we've told this board, we've told our board, is the intent is to not go up to 160. One, from an affordability standpoint. Two, from a practical standpoint. And three, the whole purpose of getting that buffer was in case of a disaster. Let's use Marley Taylor again as an example. Even if Marley Taylor was a FEMA fully reimbursed project, got hit by a tornado, got hit by a severe flood, we had to redo the entire system for $40 million, we have to have the authority.
The ability to get it work quickly.
If we chewed that up with existing projects, we'd have no ability.
I get this, but here's what I want to say, Ashley.
Yes, sir.
Is that debt service, do you expect it to gradually increase? Do you expect I think the last thing I saw with you guys, you were kind of, this 101 is kind of the high point, right?
Well, that's why we drew the 120 line. It matters. Each year it varies, but the actual has always been historically lower than what we projected.
Okay.
Because we now borrow at the time we need to, not borrow.
Good idea. That's a good idea.
Not borrow when your CIB is approved. So those lines that we typically show the board, that's if we do everything we say we are going to do in the CIB in that year. It never happens that way. So we stay under that line. It gives us an additional buffer.
You just confirmed what I've been thinking, and I was hoping that.
And we can send you the updated, we still have their debt capacity that we provided and updated to help with them, and we can provide that to you.
Now, we just finished a
Joe.
facilities plan, and of course, facilities plan are like any other plan. They tell you that you already are behind the curve a little bit, and they give you a number that if you plug in, you're at 160. I mean, I'm just telling you, this is what happened. So we have to prioritize and roll those projects out so that we stay under, or at least near, where we were before. And that's tough sometimes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks,
No,
George.
thank you. You're welcome.
We also have Assistant Sheriff David Yingling on the phone. Do you have any comments, David?
Thank you, sir.
No, ma'am.
All right.
That's good.
Quick and short. Commissioners, I will work with interim county administrator and find out when you would like to have me come back on the agenda for any approval of these items, or if you need any additional information.
So just a few comments. All of the proposals from all the departments and partnering agencies, they're all valuable. They're all good. Not trying to take away from any of them. I have concerns about us, for lack of a better term, nickel and diming away the money in small projects here and there. They're all valuable. They've all doing good stuff.
That one doing the reporting.
But I think, just thinking philosophically about why this funding was given to us, what we can do, what we have the opportunity to do with this funding, with the almost $4 million that's remaining of it, a larger expenditure projects that can have bigger impacts and lasting impacts could serve our citizens better. Some of these projects, a lot of the projects that have been presented to us are things that we should already be budgeting for and need to be in our regular budget process. So it seems artificial to cover them out of this money. I would love to see $2 million of this money that's left over dedicated to last mile projects. We haven't intentionally dedicated anything to last mile. We've always put it to middle mile, and then when there's been left over, it's been moved to last mile. I think that would be a extremely lasting impact as we build infrastructure for the county. We're a technology corridor, and I think just improving that would really get the bang for the buck and really make a big difference in a lot of people's lives.
Well, there's currently $1.5 million that's already been approved for 2023.
Yep, and
for
I'd
last
like
mile.
to put an additional $2 million.
Great, okay.
Well, I mean, why would you want to just put a number like that out there? Why don't we just tell us what we need to get where we need to go? That's where I guess
We
I'd
can
like to
have
know
Mr.
from-
Kelly come back and say if he was to have that kind of money, how would he spend
Or
it?
if he could say if we wanted to go it out to 3,500 feet versus 2,200 feet, it would cost me additional $5 million or additional $2 million. What, just get some idea of what we get for the money versus allocating the money.
Understand that, but I just want to make sure we keep in mind some of these larger projects like broadband expansion that would be harder to get through during a regular budget cycle. It's a lot easier to do it with this money right now.
All right.
Like an ambulance, I'm not opposed to that at all, and I think that's something that we have to have the responsibility for during our regular budget process.
In the
too.
ordinary course of your work.
But what
right.
I would like to, I know you do it and you do a great job of it, please.
Yeah.
Is when we allocate this money.
Yes.
And Metcom's a good example of, they didn't need all the money, and they give us back $700,000-800,000.
Exactly.
So at some point in time, I use the term sweep, is when you come along and say, look, we allocated you this much, you've only been able to use. Therefore, we can come back and say, well, while we allocated it all, they haven't been able to spend it all.
Right.
And then that way we could look at broadband or something else that impacts the.
And I'm working on that now. If you,
I feel like you're going to be doing that for 2 more years. You're going to be sweeping.
we like to sweep in finance.
Yeah.
Well, we should.
Yeah, we need like some more brooms. But anyway, if you look at your spreadsheet here, that's in here, you can already see that there's already been a reduction, a swept of the HR hourly nurse. So they only spent $34,000. It was actually $40,000. So that has gone to the bottom line. And also with the sheriff's nurse, that was actually reduced. So the last time we were here, we had the leftover money for 2022 of like $38,000. Now it's $73,000. There are some other entities like the health department where they may have about $2,000 left. And I've got to double check with the CSM on their scholarships where I received some requests, but I haven't received anything lately. So I need to follow up with them.
Okay, that's what I'm
See if
asking.
they still need all of that money and then see if there's any that maybe they can turn back in.
Because this 3.8 could be.
It could be more. It could be more. But that's where I'm kind of now, just getting through the submission that we just did for June. Now I want to look at everything that was approved and we spent for 2022 to see, okay, now, is there any of that available? And then we'll move that to the bottom line to increase.
Okay.
Thank you. Are there
Any
any other questions? And I'll work, like I said, with Interim Director Weiskopf and find a better time to get back for some action. And if you have any more ideas or recommendations, yes, please send them my way, and then we can incorporate that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you
Jeanette.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner President Guy, and that ends County Administrator time.
All right, good. Let me go right into Commissioner time, and we'll start with Commissioner Morgan.
Thank you. Got another heat wave coming, so I advise everyone try to stay as cool as you can, hydrate. Leading into tonight is our National Night Out. I think there's 17 or 19 locations to visit. National Night is always a lot of fun. And if you have the opportunity, go out and meet your neighbors, because it's one of those few nights during the year that people can actually get together in neighborhoods, get to greet each other. So a lot of places, a lot of things to do tonight, so please go out there, but stay cool and stay hydrated. Thank you.
Eric.
All right. So a couple different things I want to touch on this morning briefly. Last week, Camp Inspire ended. And so I want to just commend our Recreation and Parks Department, all of the people who worked to help put on Camp Inspire, and the Board of Education and Dr. Smith for helping to make that happen. It was disappointing earlier in the year that that camp was not going to happen, and we were able to push and actually make it happen in an abbreviated form. And I heard from several of the parents that was just a phenomenal time. They had 25 kids, a little bit smaller than usual, and it was a shorter time frame than usual, but it's a camp for children that have autism. And there's not a lot of other activities specifically designed for children with special needs in our county. So it was a really great time, and I'm really glad that it was able to happen. Also, over the weekend, I was able to catch the last performance of our summer stock musical, Children of Eden, and I just want to commend all of the actors who were involved with that. It was just a great job. If you haven't ever been to one of our summer stock shows, next summer, make a priority of it. You really need to go. They're phenomenal. They do a great job, and they're always entertaining. It was a lot of fun. This weekend, coming up, is the National Lawnmower Races out at Bowles Farms. If you've never been to the lawnmower races, I was cutting some grass last night and I was pretending I was racing, but you really need to go. It is so much fun, and all of the proceeds go to benefit the 7th District Optimists and the 7th District Rescue Squads. It's going to great organizations, and it's just a fun event. Bring your earmuffs for little kids, or if you're sensitive to loud noises, because those lawnmowers really get moving. Also, this Saturday is the first ever Southern Maryland Italian Heritage Festival at the fairgrounds. So all my paisanos out there, come on out. I'm a quarter Italian, so I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a fun time. And finally, in 2 weeks, we're going to be out at the Mako conference. It's always an interesting time. I always learn a lot, and just having that ability to talk with other elected officials from around the around the state and hear very interesting presentations on what's going on and try and get an idea of how we can better serve our citizens. It's a good thing. And to agree with Commissioner Morgan, tonight, National Night Out. There's going to be National Night Out events all across our county. So look one up, join it, go have fun, and have a great night out. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Mike.
Today we talked about public safety and ways we can make our public feel more safe when they're at public events and different things we can do, because we do need to show people we are taking that seriously and doing something about it. This past week we had a terrible tragedy with a pedestrian getting off a bus. This commissioner has talked about bus stops for the longest time, and Lord knows we're working on them, but we have to do a total top-down review of this whole bus transportation program we have in this county. We need to be able to put people out in areas where there's shelter in case it's raining hard, that they can take the time to make sure it's safe to walk wherever they need to walk to from that shelter. But I saw it yesterday when I was down in First Colony, where someone was trying to catch a bus and just pulled over, flagged the bus down right there on FDR Boulevard, and the bus just pulled over and picked them up. There was a couple cars behind that had to jockey for, didn't know if they should go around or not. It wasn't a school bus. Again, we got to work on this system. We just can't be picking up people and letting people off flag stops and making buses stop where people don't expect them. It's reasonable if you're a motorist and you're driving and there's no bus stop signs that you think you should go whatever the speed limit may be. But if there's a bus stop sign and you're alerted to there being a bus stop, maybe you'll be more cautious coming up on that. So we need to avoid these types of public safety incidents whenever we can. Like they were saying, it's getting hot. Lord knows it's been hot, but it's July and August in Maryland. Now we're into August. It's hard to believe that summer is almost over. I hate to say it that way, but I always look when May gets here. Of course, it's spring, but that's the start of summer. But now we're into the dog days of summer, and this is vacation time. Many people are going to be taking their vacations, so we need to make sure that we're taking all precautions with our animals. And I got 6 grandchildren, and Lord knows we got to do all the sunblock and everything we got to do with those kids every time we take them out to the pool. So enjoy your summers, but be careful and have a great vacation if you're taking one. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. This weekend, they had the Governor Cup sailing races coming into St. Mary's City. And my wife and I happened to be on the Dove from the 3:30 to 8 a.m. shift because a lot of the boats, believe it or not, usually finish that time of morning. The most exciting thing about it is I stayed awake the whole time. I don't know how I did it, but I did. And the disappointing thing is this race used to encompass over 300 boats. This past year, yours is down to 70.
How many?
70.
Wow.
That was
used
it.
to be the best part of the summer.
That's right. It's usually huge, but we don't know if it's because of the COVID break and everything, but last year there was like 77. This year is 70, and I don't know what's going on. There's a lot of sailboats in this area, but the people are just not participating. So it's very disappointing. That's all they had to do. But it's a great race, and we used the Dove as a platform to right across the point there where the cross is the finish line, and it was very, very good night out. But hopefully we'll get more and more people involved and get this sailing back up to where it used to be. Also, there's actually a National Night Out. I'm going to try to cover some of the northern parts. There's no way I can get to every one of them within the time frame. Most of them are between like 6 p.m. and 9 p.m., and by that time it's pretty much over. So I'm going to try to hit a few of the northern parts myself. And once again, I'm going to put a shout out to, we are expecting a great turnout, believe it or not, for this lawnmower race in Clements at Bowles Farm. If you've never seen it before, it's hilarious. But it's these guys that are racing, and women too, are very serious about what they're doing with these lawnmowers. And don't worry about it. They don't have blades on. They are not allowed to have blades, but they're regular lawnmowers that have been hopped up a little bit for the engines. And it's fascinating to watch them go through this. It's like a dirt type track that they're running on. And from some of these people these are from all over the country, not just from Maryland. And they're very serious about this race, and they say this is one of the better racetracks that they race on. And we're expecting a big crowd, so try to get out there and see this and be a part of it. At this time, I would like to say that I have to agree with him about Eric Colvin about the last mile being a contributing factor to get it done. Mine is finally getting done, and I'm only about 1,200 feet, I think. But we need to get, since we're a high-tech type area, everybody, we should get this broadband totally put out to everyone. With that being said, we now adjourn this meeting.